Most women will never be taught the true power of silence. They will be taught to please, to smile, to be agreeable, trained in the art of shrinking, not seduction. But the Stoic Seductress, she knows better. She knows that silence is not emptiness. It is a blade, polished, precise, and dangerous to the man who cannot bear to face his own reflection in it. She does not speak to be heard. She speaks to be understood. And when she does not speak, it is not from absence. It is from abundance. Her silence is the language of her boundaries, the liturgy of her self-worth, the cathedral where only the worthy may kneel. She is not loud, and yet her presence swells in the room. Not because she demands attention, but because she does not need it. And in a world addicted to noise, her restraint becomes the most seductive frequency of all. He wonders what she is thinking. He wonders why she does not rush to fill the space between them with soft apologies or unnecessary justifications. She lets discomfort breathe. She lets tension stretch like raw silk between bodies, waiting to be woven into something real or left to unravel. This is not a game. This is power. Ancient, disciplined, earned. The Stoics spoke of control, of not being governed by externals. She is the embodiment of that control, not repressed, but refined. Her silence is not repression, but rebellion. In a culture that rewards the loudest performance of femininity, she is the woman who refuses to audition. She will not compete. She will not beg. She will not soften herself to fit into a hand that was never strong enough to hold her. Her eyes, when they land on you, are mirrors, not of who you are, but of who you pretend to be. And that is the real danger. Because a man may chase a woman's body, but it is rare that a man chases the truth of himself. And yet, in her stillness, in the way she does not reach for him, in the way she refuses to be impressed by his bravado, he begins to feel exposed. Not judged, revealed. You see, the Stoic Seductress does not seek validation. That is why she is irresistible. She walks into the room with the gravity of a woman who has faced her shadows, befriended them, and come back with her own name. She is not interested in being liked. She is interested in being free. And the man who cannot grasp this freedom will mistake her serenity for distance, her calm for disinterest, her silence for absence. He will try to decode her instead of see her. He will try to provoke a reaction instead of offer presence, but she does not react. She responds with the slowness of wisdom and the deliberateness of someone who has mastered her emotional weather. Anger does not own her. Approval does not enslave her. She is not cold. She is clear. There is a difference. One is a wall. The other is a mirror. And when you look into her, what you find is not her absence, but your own. Men trained by chaos will find her unbearable. Because she does not reward chaos. She does not play therapist to the emotionally stunted or offer shelter to the unexamined ego. She offers stillness, and stillness is where every illusion must die. The illusion of control, the illusion of charm, the illusion of being enough without ever doing the work. She does not chase, she does not cling, she invites, and then she waits. Because she knows what is meant for her will not require erosion. She does not seduce with body, but with boundary. She does not allure with flirtation, but with focus. A woman like this, unbothered, unattached, unafraid, is an initiation. You do not encounter her. You undergo her. You are not with her. You are revealed by her. And once seen, you cannot return to pretending. Once tasted, chaos no longer satisfies. The noise of the world becomes unbearable after hearing the song of her stillness. She is not the woman you date while you figure yourself out. She is the woman who shows you that you never truly began. Her love is not a transaction, it is a mirror, and many will flee from it. Because love, when untainted by performance, reveals everything, and not everyone is ready to see. She does not ask for trust. She becomes the kind of woman one either trusts instinctively or fears unconsciously. There is no middle ground, because she speaks in symbols, in silence, in subtlety, the language of the unconscious, and the unconscious cannot be fooled. You may lie with words, you may manipulate with charm, but not here, not with her, because she does not respond to masks. She sees the boy behind the bravado, the hunger behind the compliments, the ache behind the games. She knows that every man carries within him a mother wound, a longing, a grief, a hunger for validation. And many, unaware of this, search for women who will soothe it, who will pour affection into their emptiness without ever demanding they confront it. But she offers no such narcotic. Her love is not a balm for the unhealed. Her silence is not cruelty. It is discipline. She will not mother the man who refuses to grow, because she has done the work, the shadow work, the grief work, the self-abandonment reckoning. She has stood alone in the abyss of her own psyche and made a home there. She has kissed the parts of herself others deemed too much, too intense, too complicated. She no longer splinters herself into palatable pieces. And so, when a man approaches her with a fractured sense of self, hoping her light will disguise his darkness, he will find no such illusion here. She will not reflect his ego, only his essence. And essence is a raw, uncomfortable thing. There is a reason the Stoic Seductress moves slowly. She understands that speed is the enemy of depth, that most men rush not because they are certain, but because they are terrified. Terrified of being seen, known, mirrored. Terrified of what their desire says about them, especially when that desire is not returned with automatic submission. She does not rush, not out of hesitation, but because she moves at the pace of truth. She does not flinch when he pulls away. She does not chase when he goes silent. She does not spiral when his attention shifts, because she has rooted herself too deeply in the soil of her own becoming. Her worth is not a pendulum that swings with the moods of others. Her worth is stillness. It is rooted, it is sovereign, and still, men crave her. Not because she plays hard to get, but because she is hard to reach. Not emotionally unavailable, but spiritually discerning. She does not open herself to anyone who simply knocks. She opens herself only to the one who knows how to wait in silence, how to listen without needing to speak, how to hold presence without performing. Because true intimacy is not built in declarations. It is built in the quiet. The Stoic Seductress does not teach through words. She teaches through experience. To love her is to be stripped of pretense. It is to feel your ego shriek in the presence of her boundaries. It is to discover how much of your love was control, dressed as care, how much of your attention was possession cloaked in passion. She shows you, not by telling, but by being, where you still grip, where you still cling, where you still abandon yourself in pursuit of another. She is not the fantasy. She is the mirror that shatters the fantasy. And yet, those who are ready, they will not run, they will not shrink. They will sit in the silence and let it undo them, because deep down, they know. This is the kind of woman who cannot be impressed by surface, who is not stirred by performance, who does not need your strength unless it is real. You may try to provoke her. You may try to draw her out with drama, to bait her into emotionality, to press against her silence with your own discomfort. But it will not work. Her silence is not absence. It is mastery. It is the result of decades of unlearning, of unraveling, of reassembling the self without external approval. She no longer performs femininity to be loved. She embodies it as an act of devotion to herself. And in this, she becomes magnetic, not because she tries to attract, but because she refuses to abandon herself, to be chosen. She does not need to be chased to feel desirable. She knows what she is. And when you know your value, the desperation dies. You do not audition for love. You invite it, and you let go of what does not rise to meet you. There is something terrifying about a woman who does not flinch. Not when you withdraw, not when you push, not when you try to make her doubt her place in your world. Because the truth is, she never needed a place in your world. She became a world unto herself. This is the woman whose silence haunts men in their quiet moments. Long after the texts have stopped, long after the heat has faded, her absence lingers, not as punishment, but as presence. Because she does not vanish in anger. She withdraws in alignment. Her leaving is not rage, it is revelation. She has seen something in you that you have not yet seen in yourself, and she will not wait for you to catch up. Not out of cruelty, but out of reverence for herself and for the man you could become if you dared to look. You wonder if she feels anything, if beneath that calm exterior there is a storm, or worse, a void. But it is not emptiness you sense, it is containment, the kind of emotional regulation that comes not from suppression, but from spiritual weight. She carries her inner world like a sacred flame, never allowing it to flicker for the sake of momentary affection. Her restraint is not detachment, it is discernment. And discernment is the ultimate seduction, because it requires the suitor to rise. Not with words, not with gifts, not with conquest, but with consciousness. You do not earn her with effort. You earn her with presence. And presence, true presence, is terrifying to those who have only ever known performance. In her silence, you will hear your fears. In her stillness, you will face your fragmentation. She will not soothe your ego. She will not rescue you from your discomfort. She will simply be. And in that being, she dares you to become. For most men, this is too much. Not because she is too much, but because she demands integrity. And integrity, for the undeveloped masculine, is a kind of death. The death of the mask, the death of the manipulator, the death of the false self that seeks to seduce with strategy instead of soul. And still, you want her, not the woman you can possess, the woman who makes you question, the woman who looks at you not with admiration, but with clarity. She is not impressed by what you do. She is attentive to who you are when nothing is being done. She is watching the space between your words, the way your eyes move when silence falls, the way your energy shifts when you are not performing. And it is in those moments, those unguarded spaces, that she decides. She does not punish. She does not scold. She does not need to explain. Her silence is the explanation. And that is why it wounds in a way that no insult ever could, because it reflects back everything you failed to become. There is a kind of alchemy that happens in her presence, a quiet transmutation. She does not demand change, she evokes it. You find yourself wanting to be better, not for her approval, but for your own redemption. Because something about her gaze makes you remember who you were before the world convinced you to forget. She is not easy, she is not safe, but she is true. And truth, for the man who is ready, becomes the most erotic force on earth. It is not her beauty that undoes you. It is the way she does not need you to see it. It is not her sensuality that intoxicates. It is the way she embodies it without offering it for consumption. She does not flirt with the desperation to be desired. She desires herself. And that, more than anything, breaks your conditioning. Because you were taught that power is in the chase, that worth is proven by conquest, that love is earned by controlling its source. But here stands a woman you cannot control. You cannot predict. You cannot possess. You can only meet her or miss her. She does not grieve the ones who do not rise. She has grieved too many versions of herself to mourn a man who was never ready. She does not suffer potential. She honors reality. And in this, she becomes untouchable, not because she is unreachable, but because she is unwilling to betray herself, to be touched. To love her, you must first love the silence, because in that silence, she listens, not to you, to herself. And if your voice is not aligned with the voice within her, she will walk away, without rage, without begging, without a trace. But you will remember her, because in her presence, you saw yourself clearly for the first time. And in her absence, you are left to decide, will you become the man who could stand in that mirror again? The Stoic Seductress does not emerge from comfort. She is not born in ease, nor sculpted by applause. She is forged, like tempered steel, shaped in silence, refined by solitude, and cooled in the still waters of radical self-confrontation. Every boundary she holds, every word she withholds, every gaze that pierces without apology, it is earned through fire, earned through betrayal, earned through the sacred art of walking away from anything that costs her peace. And so she no longer explains. She no longer overfunctions for the fragile. She no longer translates her intuition into palatable terms for those addicted to logic. Her silence is not a test. It is a sanctuary, a temple where the noise of manipulation, guilt, and desperation cannot enter. To some, she will appear arrogant, elitist, cold. But this is the cry of the wounded ego, the projection of those who mistake self-respect for superiority. They cannot comprehend a woman who is not performing for approval, and so they label her unattainable, difficult, intimidating. What they truly mean is, she will not make herself small enough for them to feel big. In truth, she is neither cruel nor superior. She is precise, and precision in the emotional realm is a lost art. She does not make space for those who drain. She does not soothe chaos that refuses to heal. She does not romance potential while her soul bleeds from self-neglect. She is done playing mother, done performing softness in the face of disrespect, done tolerating almost love in the hopes that it might one day become devotion. Because she knows now, clarity is kindness, and silence is clarity in its purest form. She does not ghost to punish. She departs to protect. She does not lash out when disappointed. She chooses the more powerful act, detachment, because any man who needs punishment to feel her value was never ready for her love. You may call it cruel, but cruelty is not in leaving. Cruelty is in staying where your soul is shrinking. She does not cling to connection simply because it exists. She examines. Does this connection nourish? Does it reflect my truth or just mirror my wounds? And if the answer is no, she does not linger. She closes the door, not with bitterness, but with blessing. You wonder if she ever feels regret, if her nights are filled with questions about the paths not taken. But you forget. This is a woman who has already grieved the version of herself who tolerated less than she deserved. She does not look back with longing. She looks forward with sovereignty. Her life is not measured by how much love she receives, but by how deeply she remains loyal to herself. She is not waiting. She is not hoping. She is choosing. Every day she chooses alignment over attention, depth over drama, peace over potential. And when the rare man arrives who can meet her here, who has faced his own demons, who no longer seeks a mother in his lover, who holds space instead of seeking to fill it, she will let her silence soften. She will open, slowly, not in reaction, but in response. And even then, she does not give herself away. She offers herself like a sacred flame, measured, intentional, fierce. She does not want to be possessed. She wants to be witnessed, not watched, seen, in the way only a man who has done his own shadow work can see, in the way only someone who has stopped running from himself can behold another. She does not need to be saved. She is not a project. She is not a reward. She is a portal, a woman who initiates transformation by simply existing in full alignment with herself. You do not win her. You remember yourself through her. And in doing so, you may discover a deeper love than you ever thought possible, but only if you dare to slow down, to sit in the silence, to let her presence unravel you, because she will never yell to be understood. She will never beg to be heard. She will never lower her frequency to accommodate yours. She will simply speak in the oldest language there is, absence. And if that silence wounds you, ask yourself, what part of you is dying when her voice goes quiet? What illusion is crumbling? What part of your identity was built on her validation? She does not leave to hurt you. She leaves to return to herself. And that, above all, is the love letter you must learn to read. Somewhere deep inside, you know this. She is not playing by the rules of the modern world. She belongs to an older order, a lineage of women whose power does not come from volume, but from vibration, from presence, from the way they walk into a room and shift the current of the air without speaking. She is the storm in stillness, the eye at the center, the truth that burns in silence. And men, those who are unready, will call her dangerous, not because she harms, but because she disarms. She strips them bare of their illusions. No flattery, no charm, no practiced confidence can survive in the gravity of her gaze, because she sees the archetype beneath the action. She hears the cry behind the compliment. She tastes the falsehood in your hunger. She has been through too many initiations to fall for well-dressed wounds. The Stoic Seductress carries the wisdom of every version of herself who once gave too much. She has danced with desperation. She has spoken when she should have been silent, waited when she should have walked. She has swallowed her truth in the name of love. And so now, she speaks less and sees more. She waits for nothing and misses nothing. Her patience is not passive, it is potent. You ask, what does she want? But the better question is, what are you willing to become in her presence? Because what she wants cannot be given by those who are not yet whole. She does not want attention that flickers. She does not want possession masquerading as passion. She wants devotion, not the kind that clings, but the kind that holds its own center. She wants a man who understands that intimacy is not in the grasp, but in the release, in allowing the other to remain fully themselves while choosing, over and over, to meet in truth. And this is where so many men fail, not because they lack desire, but because they confuse desire with entitlement. They do not see that love without reverence is intrusion. That to approach a woman who has made a home within herself is to enter sacred ground. And sacred ground is never entered with muddy feet. She is not here to teach you. She is not here to fix you. She is not your test, your muse, or your rehab. She is not responsible for how deeply you meet yourself. She will inspire, yes. She will awaken if you are open. But she is not your savior. She has spent too long becoming her own. To love her is to take responsibility for your energy, to come clean. Not perfect, but present. To own your shadow and let it breathe in the light of her stillness. To stop performing and start revealing. But can you? Can you stand before a woman who will not shrink to make you feel powerful? Who will not mirror your fantasies, but reflect your fractures? Who will not flatter your ego, but honor your soul? Most cannot. Most will try to bend her, shape her, soften her fire. And when she does not yield, they call her names to soothe the sting of rejection. They label her frigid, complicated, unattainable. But what they are truly saying is this: I am not yet ready to meet myself. Because to truly meet her, you must strip away everything that was never you. You must peel back the armor of your upbringing, the persona you crafted for survival, the lies you told yourself to feel in control. You must bring the raw, trembling self to the altar and leave your ego at the door. And then, perhaps she will open, not for your persistence, but for your purity. Not for your charm, but for your courage. The courage to be seen without pretense. The courage to be still with her silence and not fill it with noise. The courage to face the sacred responsibility of being chosen by a woman who has already chosen herself. Because make no mistake, her love is not free. It costs everything false, everything fragile, everything performative. Her love demands truth. It demands presence. It demands that you rise. And if you do, if you meet her there, if you hold your own gaze long enough to stop flinching in hers, you will not just know her, you will know yourself. You will know the man buried beneath the performance. You will know the clarity that only silence can deliver. And that is the seduction. Not her body, though it moves like poetry. Not her mind, though it slices through illusion with elegance. It is her silence, the kind that does not need to be loud to be heard. The kind that teaches without teaching, that speaks without speaking, that holds without touching. The kind of silence that becomes the doorway, not into her, but into you. She walks away, and it feels like the wind has shifted, as if something ancient has exited the room, something you didn't know you depended on until it was gone. And that is the mystery of her presence. She doesn't just occupy space, she anchors it. Her absence reveals the hollowness of everything that tried to replace her. It's not drama, it's not punishment, it's reality, adjusting itself in the wake of what is no longer being held. The Stoic Seductress does not leave you shattered. She leaves you sober. She leaves you with the echo of her silence, humming through your ribcage like a question you can't unhear. Who are you when no one is validating you? Who are you when no woman is bending to your comfort? Because her silence, make no mistake, is not emptiness. It's a sacred mirror. The kind you only find after you've lost the comfort of being misunderstood. She does not cater to confusion. She requires clarity. And if you cannot bring that to her, she will not dim herself to meet you in your fog. You may look for her in others. You may seek out the warmth, the calm, the depth you once mistook for still water, not knowing it was a sea, but you will not find her again, not because she has vanished, but because she has become a symbol. And symbols cannot be replicated. They must be earned. In the Stoic tradition, love is not attachment. It is elevation. To love someone is to wish for them what is best for their soul, even if it is not you. And that is precisely how she loves, not with possession, but with precision. She will not fight for what costs her her center. She will not bleed for what wounds her wisdom. She does not need your affection. She needs your alignment. And if you don't know the difference, you are not ready. Because the truth is, most people don't want love. They want comfort. They don't want intimacy. They want attention. They don't want mirrors. They want masks. And a woman like her is allergic to masks. Her very presence demands truth. She will not play the role you've cast for her. She is not here to validate your fantasy. She is here to exist, fully, fiercely, independently. And in that existence, she reveals the gap between who you are and who you pretend to be. So many women are taught to be sweet, to be easy, to be the balm that soothes male ego. But she has renounced that inheritance. She has walked through the fire of loneliness and emerged whole. She no longer sacrifices her soul for belonging. She no longer distorts herself for desire. She would rather be alone in truth than loved in illusion. And yet, she does love. When the time comes, when the soul across from hers reflects its own work, when a man arrives not to take but to witness, she becomes a force of nature, not chaotic, but conscious, not needy, but nourishing. Her love is not desperate, it is devotional. And devotion is rare in a world addicted to distraction. You will know she is opened when her silence turns to song. Not loud, not performed, but steady. A melody that cannot be earned through force, only through resonance. She sings only for those who have learned to listen, not just with ears, but with presence. Not just to her words, but to the pauses between them. If you cannot sit with her silence, you cannot be trusted with her soul. Because she is not just asking for a man, she is invoking the masculine, the grounded, mature, integrated masculine, the one who holds without gripping, who protects without controlling, who listens without fixing, who does not fear her depth, but dives, who does not flinch at her stillness, but matches it. That man, when he arrives, will not find a woman desperate for his approval. He will find a woman already complete. And from that wholeness, she will choose, not to complete him, not to carry him, but to walk beside him. Two sovereigns, two silences, two flames that do not consume each other, but illuminate the path ahead. Because the Stoic Seductress knows, love is not found in the loud declarations, but in the quiet decisions, in the choice to stay when it's inconvenient, in the gaze that sees the shadow and does not turn away, in the hand that touches not to own, but to honor. And in the end, that is her only desire. Not to be worshipped, not to be won, but to be witnessed, fully, fiercely, faithfully. Anything less will not move her. Anything less will be met with silence. When she finally speaks, her words are not meant to enchant. They are not rehearsed lines or sugar-dipped offerings designed to keep you comfortable. They are truth, unpolished, unapologetic, and steeped in sovereignty. She speaks as one who has learned that the voice is sacred and silence is its guardian. Every word is chosen, every pause, a boundary. Every truth she utters is a signal. I will not abandon myself for love again. There is no pleading in her tone, no tremble, no need to convince. Only the calm authority of a woman who has met every version of herself in the dark and no longer fears what she finds there. Her love is not a promise. It is a presence. You do not need to earn it, but you must become enough to meet it. She does not need fixing. She does not need saving. She has already saved herself. And that changes everything, because now she loves from a different place, not from emptiness, not from hunger, but from overflow. From the deep wellspring of a soul that has been both broken and rebuilt, not in the image of who the world told her to be, but in the likeness of who she was always meant to become. This is the love that heals, not because it pampers, but because it pierces. It asks you to rise. It demands the death of your delusions. It reaches into the parts of you that still perform, that still seduce, that still strive, and simply says, no more. You cannot fake your way into her heart. You must arrive whole. Not perfect, but present. Not powerful, but real. You must come as one who has grieved his former selves and emerged, not hardened, but humbled. You must know your own silence, your own inner world, your own sacred worth. Because if you do not know what it means to be with yourself, you will never know how to be with her. The Stoic Seductress does not chase. She does not beg. She does not compromise the temple she has built from her own bones just to feel desired. She sits in the richness of her solitude and waits, not for a savior, but for an equal. And when he appears, not loud, not flashy, but steady, she will know. Because her body no longer flinches at inconsistency. Her soul no longer dances for crumbs. Her heart no longer confuses chaos with chemistry. She will open, not as a reaction, but as a revelation. She will let you in, not because you pushed, but because you matched. And when you touch her, you will feel it, the sacred ground. The centuries of women who came before her, the ancestors in her spine, the quiet revolutions she has won without anyone noticing. You will know you are not touching a woman. You are touching legacy. And if you cannot meet her there, she will walk. Not with bitterness, not with drama, but with the grace of someone who knows her soul is not negotiable. That is the essence of the Stoic Seductress. She is the one who does not perform. She is the one who waits without needing. She is the one who knows her worth without words. She is the one whose silence speaks louder than desire. And in the end, it is not the woman who speaks the most who is remembered. It is the one whose silence taught you the most. Because silence, when sacred, is not absence, it is authority. And the woman who masters it becomes unforgettable.